not just a flight reroute. It's calibrated economic and geopolitical pressure.
This is Sharik Zaidi, live from Dubai studio.
This is Ali Raza, live from Karachi studio.
This is Simon Tilley, live from the London studio.
A recent incident involved an Indian woman caught shoplifting in the United States has sparked sharp reminders from both the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, MEA, and the US Embassy. Ananya Avlani, who was visiting her family in Illinois, was caught red-handed after allegedly stuffing clothes worth $1,300 under her top at a Target store. CCTV footage showed her spending over 7 hours in store before attempting to leave without paying. She was intercepted by staff and later detained by police. In a now viral video, she can be heard saying, "I'm not from this country. I'm not going to stay here." To which officer bluntly replied, "Are you allowed to steal things in India? I didn't think so." Reacting to the video, MEA spokesperson Randhir Jaswal urged Indians abroad to respect local laws, stating it is their responsibility to abide by the laws of the country they are in, so they can build a good image for themselves and the nation. The US Embassy in India also issued a fresh visa warning, stating that the crimes like theft or assault can lead to immediate visa cancellation and ban on future entries. A US visa is a privilege, not a right, the embassy reiterated.
This is Sharik Zaidi, live from Dubai studio.
This is Hiba, live from Karachi studio.
This is Simon Tilley, live from the London studio.
In yet another damning indictment of India's decaying security institutions under Modi's rule, a female police officer was allegedly strangled to death by her live-in partner. A serving Central Reserve Police Force soldier in Gujarat's Kutch district. The victim, Assistant Sub-Inspector Aruna Nathubai Jadhav, was posted at Anjar police station. Her partner, Dilip Dangshia, a CRPF personnel deployed in Manipur, surrendered to police after confessing to the murder. According to officials, the two had been living together since 2021 after meeting on Instagram. On the night of the incident, a domestic argument escalated into fatal violence, ending with Aruna's brutal killing. This is not an isolated case. Under Modi's government, Indian paramilitary and military institutions have become hotspots of gender-based violence, where female officers face systemic abuse, harassment, and death at the hands of their own colleagues. Despite portraying itself as the world's largest democracy, Modi's India continues to fail its women, both civilians and those in uniform. Crimes against women in security forces are often silenced, manipulated, or dismissed under the guise of discipline and national interest. This is Sharik Zaidi, live from Dubai studio.
This is Hiba, live from Karachi studio.
This is Simon Tilley, live from the London studio. In the Sirmaur district of Himachal Pradesh, two Hindu brothers publicly married the same woman, reviving the ancient Hatti polyandry tradition with full community participation and celebration. This isn't a hidden ritual from the past. It happened in 2025 under India's full glare. While Hindu supremacists scream about sanskar and family values, this openly Hindu practice, where a woman is shared between brothers, is celebrated, televised and defended as tradition. But when Muslims or minorities follow their personal laws, India brands them backward, uncivilized or worse, anti-national. This isn't just hypocrisy, it's the ugly core of Hindu culture where women are not partners but property to be managed. Hinduism tolerates and even institutionalizes polyandry, child marriage, caste apartheid, and female subjugation, all while preaching moral superiority to the world. And the Indian state remains silent, complicit, and selectively blind. In this same country, a Muslim man with 2 wives is criminalized. A Dalit man marrying an upper caste woman is lynched, and interfaith couples are hunted under love jihad laws. Yet Hindu polyandry is celebrated as culture. India cannot pretend to be a civilized nation while its dominant religion still treats women as shared property and its state upholds different rules based on caste and creed. This isn't diversity, it's institutionalized duplicity.
This is Sharik Zaidi, live from Dubai studio.
This is Ali Raza, live from Karachi studio.
This is Ismail Iqbal, live from the London studio. A CRPF Jawan was brutally assaulted by a mob of saffron-clad Kanwarias at Mirzapur railway station, Uttar Pradesh. A chilling snapshot of lawlessness under Modi's Hindutva-driven rule. CCTV footage shows the uniformed soldier being pinned down, punched and kicked by a group of devotees, while onlookers stood by in silence. The attack reportedly began over a dispute regarding train tickets. The Jawan was attempting to board the Brahmaputra mail when the Kanwarias turned violent, overpowering him in full public view. Only one bystander made a feeble attempt to intervene. The Railway Protection Force has arrested 7 Kanwarias. A case has been registered, but the larger question remains: how did India reach a point where religious mobs can assault armed personnel without fear of consequence? The Kanwar Yatra, once a religious ritual, has morphed into a state-enabled display of mob supremacy, emboldened by political patronage and police inaction. Under Modi's regime, religious identity increasingly shields criminality, and state authority bows before street power cloaked in saffron. This is not an isolated incident, it's a warning. When soldiers are no longer safe from the wrath of radicalized mobs, it is not just law and order that collapses, it is the state itself.
Hello guys, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. Yeah.
Yes, enjoying the sunshine of London?
Yes.
Where are you from?
All 3 of us are from London, yeah.
So you're locals.
Yes.
You live central London?
Yes,
Yeah.
we do. And
Okay.
she's near Central.
Yeah, I'm near Shoreditch.
Okay,
Yeah.
fabulous. So tell me guys, how do you feel like? Is it safe to be in London?
Yes, I think that it truly just depends kind of where you are in London. Like, there's obviously some areas which aren't as safe, but I think that's the same in most cities. So,
I would say London isn't that safe. Like compared to like other countries and other cities, like London has a lot of crime and like theft. So I wouldn't say it's the best.
I think people are like increasingly having to be a lot more wary about holding on to their possessions and things. I mean, in my area right now, there's a lot of stuff about people going on bikes and stealing phones, literally while like people are on them and just going past them.
I mean, I've had my phone stolen before, and we've had our car broken into, our family car broken into, but I'd still say that most of the crime isn't violent crime. I think it's more so just theft, so I still don't feel too unsafe when I walk around the streets, but of course I'm cautious.
Any message you will say to Mayor of London?
Can I think for a second?
Sure.
Keep up the good work, thank you. Try to make everything safer.
What would be your given suggestions to Mayor of London?
Probably to make the punishment for knife crime or kind of threats even more severe. I think that in other countries, there's more of a deterrence for the crime, which is why the crime rates are lower. And I think that if there's a bigger kind of deterrence here and there's more kind of knuckling down on it, then it will get reduced. So probably just to make the punishments worse.
I think there needs to be more qualified security around, especially in busy places, because you see people robbing directly in front of like workers and security guards, and no one can do anything because they're not qualified. So more people need to be qualified to protect us.
I think maybe in the areas where it's like most common, there should be like more like security and like police, and maybe like invest in better cameras. So if like it does happen, it's on camera.
You are on Ocean News. Keep watching Ocean News.
Hello everyone, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
Excellent.
Doing well.
Where are you from?
We've come from Leicester, but we're originally from Pakistan.
Okay, fabulous. How long have you been living in London?
Well, born here.
You were born here,
Yeah,
so you're Londoners. So you, how would you say if you're from Leicester? Is there any word?
Yeah, I mean, Leicester is safer than London, but they're both safe.
Okay, fantastic. That's another question I would like to ask you. Do
Yeah.
you feel safe in UK?
Yes, absolutely. It's home.
Okay, and in London as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So there's no trouble or anything you ever had?
No, not personally, no. No.
Okay, is it safe for you as well?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Even if you go outside in evening time?
No, I don't really go alone. I go like out with family usually in the
Yeah.
evening. So
Gathering.
Yeah.
So then you feel safer.
yeah.
Okay, fabulous.
Mayor of London.
Yes.
He's doing a great job.
Yeah.
He's a great man,
Yeah.
and he's a role model for British Pakistanis.
Yeah.
And we wish him the very best of luck. And we hope that he carry on doing the great work that he's doing.
Would you see Mayor of London as a Prime Minister, the future one?
So I think it's his third term. He's done phenomenal work for London. London has progressed under his leadership.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure whether I would like to see a Labour Prime Minister, but certainly Sadiq Khan, as a leader in his own capacity, would be an excellent Prime Minister.
You are on Ocean News.
Keep watching Ocean News.
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
What's your name?
My name is Salman.
Fantastic. Where are you from?
I'm from Saudi Arabia, Riyadh.
Okay, and do you live here in London?
No, I'm just coming for vacation.
Okay, how many days you here?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Do you feel safe in London?
Depending on the area I'm in, definitely. But the place we're living in right now, the hotel we're in, I feel pretty safe in the
Okay.
entire area.
In central London?
Yeah, in Victoria.
Victoria, okay. And you never had any bad accident or anything?
No.
And your family is safe?
Yeah, my family is very safe. Thank
Okay.
Thank God.
Okay, that's really good. Would you give any suggestions to the world? How to be safe?
How to be safe? Definitely not to be out in the open with your phone like this, you know. To not encounter any homeless, you know, I didn't mean homeless, I mean like people who, you know, are drunk or looking for a fight, like that. Just be safe and be with people. Don't always be alone. Don't go out at night in the wrong places at the wrong times, and that's it. Thank you.
Which city do you like the most, Riyadh or London?
Of course, Riyadh. It's definitely more safe. It's my hometown. I was born there. Definitely better in any way. I think London is just for tourists, you know. Definitely, it's a great place to live, but of course I prefer my hometown. Islamic country ruled by an amazing government. I feel very safe. I never have to worry about my phone being stolen or anything, and I love it there. But of course, London is an amazing place, but it has its flaws like any city or the UK in general as a country. But of course, I prefer Riyadh any day, anytime. You are on Ocean News. Keep watching Ocean News.
Do you feel safe in London?
I do, yes. I've been travelling around with my parents for cricket, and we've been feeling very safe throughout. We've been taking a lot of public transport, yeah, and so far I felt pretty safe.
Where are you from?
I'm from Australia, in Melbourne.
Australia, wow.
Yeah, I'm from Melbourne. Yeah.
Okay, so you feel pretty safe here.
Yeah. Considering what it's like in Melbourne right now, coming over to a new environment, it's really different. Like, the people are really different, but London feels safe, yeah.
Okay.
I'm from Melbourne. I'm on Ocean News. Keep watching Ocean News.
Hello, this is Vita Maguire.
Hello, I'm Ismail Iqbal and we're live on Ocean News from London.
Together, we're bringing you the day's most crucial stories, ensuring you stay informed and ahead of the curve.
Let's dive straight into today's headlines.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said Germany and Britain took a positive stance on the sale of Eurofighters jets to Turkey, adding that Ankara wants to finalize the purchase as soon as possible. Turkey has been in talks on buying Eurofighter Typhoon jets, which are built by a consortium of Germany, Britain, Italy, and Spain, represented by companies Airbus, BAE Systems, and Leonardo. The British and Germans are approaching this positively. God willing, I believe we will receive our jet planes as soon as possible. Tayyip Erdogan said that in the meetings with Prime Minister Keir Starmer and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, I saw they also approached the issue positively, and hopefully we will take this step.
Russia-Azerbaijan relations are currently going through a challenging phase, but Moscow remains hopeful for improvements as the two countries share common interests, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said. Tensions between Moscow and Baku have escalated in recent months following the detention of several ethnic Azerbaijanis in Russia and the death of two of them in police custody. Ilham Aliyev, the president of Azerbaijan, said he wanted Russia to publicly acknowledge that it had accidentally shot down an Azerbaijani passenger plane in December last year, killing 38 people on board, and to punish those responsible. President Vladimir Putin apologized at the time to Aliyev for what the Kremlin called a tragic incident over Russia, in which an Azerbaijan Airlines plane crashed after Russian air defenses opened fire against Ukrainian drones. But Putin stopped short of saying Russia had shot down the aircraft.
The European Union is exploring a broader set of possible countermeasures against the United States as prospects for an acceptable trade agreement with Washington fade, according to EU diplomats. According to diplomats, an increasing number of EU members, including Germany, are now considering using wide-ranging anti-coercion measures, which would let the bloc target US services and other sectors in the absence of a deal. The European Commission, which negotiates trade agreements on behalf of the 27-member bloc, had appeared on course for an agreement in which the EU would still have faced a 10% US tariff on most of its exports, with some concessions.
Air India flight AI2744 had flown from Kochi in southern Kerala state to Mumbai. The Mumbai airport said in a statement there were minor damages reported to the airport's primary runway due to what it described as a runway excursion, and and a secondary runway had been activated to ensure operational continuity. The aircraft has been grounded for checks. Air India has come under intense scrutiny after a Boeing 787 Dreamliner crashed in the Indian city of Ahmedabad last month, killing 260 people. An Air India Airbus A320 flight veered off the runway as it landed during heavy rain at the Mumbai International Airport, briefly shutting the runway and damaging the underside of one of the plane's engines. All passengers and crew members have since disembarked, Air India said, without saying whether anyone was injured.
US hotel hiring managers ordered more background checks in the first half of 2025 compared with the same period in 2024, amid growing scrutiny of foreign-born workers in the hospitality industry, according to a leading human resources and recruitment management company. In June, the US Department of Homeland Security said it was reversing guidance issued that immigration and customs enforcement agents were not to conduct immigration raids at farms, hotels, and restaurants. President Donald Trump has sought to end temporary legal status for hundreds of thousands of migrants in the United States and vowed to deport millions of undocumented people in the country.
Harvard University will urge a federal judge on Monday to order US President Donald Trump's administration to restore about $2.5 billion in cancelled federal grants and cease efforts to cut off research funding to the prestigious Ivy League school. The court's hearing before US District Judge Alison Burroughs in Boston marks a crucial moment in the White House's escalating conflict with Harvard, which has been in the administration's crosshairs after it rejected a list of demands to make changes to its governance, hiring, and admissions practices in April.
Kenyan human rights activist Boniface Mwangi, who has played a prominent role in anti-government protests, was freed on bail after being charged with possession of tear gas canisters and a single rifle round found in his home. Kenyan activists have been on edge over the arrests of government critics since a political blogger died in custody in June, triggering weeks of violent demonstrations in which around 50 people were killed.
Greece revealed the boundaries of two planned marine parks in the Ionian and Aegean Seas, which Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said will be the largest in the Mediterranean region. Athens wants to establish the parks for the protection of sea mammals and turtles in the Ionian Sea and for seabirds and seals in the Aegean this year. Mitsotakis said that they will help the country meet its global commitment to expand its marine protected areas to 30% of its waters by 2030. The planned Aegean Sea Park has previously stirred up tensions between Greece and its eastern neighbour Turkey, with the two countries at odds over a range of issues including maritime boundaries. Athens has assured that the park's boundaries are within Greece's territorial waters.
Thailand has accused Cambodia of recently placing landmines in a disputed border area after 3 soldiers were injured. But Phnom Penh said they had veered off agreed patrol routes and triggered a mine left behind from decades of war. Thai authorities made the claim after 3 soldiers were injured, with one losing a foot by a landmine explosion while on a routine patrol on July 16th on the Thai side of the disputed border area between Ubon Ratchathani and Cambodia's Phra Vihir province. Cambodia's defense ministry denied the new mines had been planted, saying in a statement the soldiers had stayed from the agreed patrol routes into areas that contain unexploded landmines. The country is littered with landmines laid during decades of war. Thailand's army said that 10 freshly laid Russian-made PMN-2 landmines, which are not used or stockpiled by Thailand, were found between July 18th and July 20th in areas near where the soldiers were injured.
"19 years after the 2006 Mumbai train bombings, which killed 189 people and injured over 800, the Bombay High Court has acquitted all 12 individuals previously convicted by a lower court in connection with the attacks. In 2015, a trial court had found the 12 accused guilty sentencing 5 to death and the remaining 7 to life imprisonment. However, overturning that verdict, the High Court bench comprising Justice Anil Kilor and Justice Shyam Chandak ruled that the prosecution had completely failed to establish the case against the accused. The judges also questioned the relevance of the explosives, weapons and maps recovered during the investigation, stating that they did not appear to be connected to the blasts. Furthermore, the prosecution was unable to conclusively determine the types of bombs used in the explosions.
Three people have died and more than 500 others have been rescued after a ferry caught fire off the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, according to Indonesian Coast Guard. Passengers jumped overboard KM Barcelona 5 as it sailed from Melunguan port in Telud Islands district towards the city of Manado, the capital of North Sulawesi province, after the fire broke out. Indonesian authorities previously reported 5 people died in the accident, but later revised the death toll to 3 after 2 passengers initially reported as dead were saved in the hospital, including a 2-month-old baby whose lungs were filled with the seawater.
The underutilization of an oil pipeline between Iraq and Turkey is unfortunate, and Ankara wants a new and vibrant phase in the matter to benefit both parties and the region. Ankara said the Turkey-Iraq crude oil pipeline agreement, agreed by Turkey's government in 1973 and put into effect in 1975, and all subsequent protocols or memorandums will be halted from July 27, 2026. The official said the pipeline had the potential to become a highly active and strategic pipeline for the region, and added Turkey had invested heavily in its maintenance, while repeatedly noting its importance for regional projects like the Development Road, a planned trade route involving Turkey and Iraq. A new and vibrant phase for the Iraq-Turkey pipeline will benefit both countries and the region as a whole.
Iran could withhold security commitments if European states invoke a UN mechanism to reimpose international sanctions on the Islamic Republic, a member of Iran's Parliamentary National Security Commission said. Abbas Moqtadeh said that we have many tools in our disposition. We can withhold our commitment to security in the region, Gulf and Hormuz Strait, as well as other maritime areas.
US President Donald Trump said he would help Afghans detained in the United Arab Emirates for years after fleeing their country when the United States pulled out and the Taliban took power. Trump, a Republican who promised a far-reaching immigration crackdown, suspended refugee resettlements after he took office in January. In April, the Trump administration terminated temporary deportation protections for thousands of Afghans in the United States. Donald Trump said that, "I will try to save them starting right now." The UAE, a close security partner of the United States, agreed in 2021 to temporarily house several thousand Afghans evacuated from Kabul as the Taliban ousted the US-backed government during the final stages of the US-led withdrawal. Nearly 200,000 Afghans were brought to the United States by former President Joe Biden's administration since the chaotic US troop withdrawal from Kabul.
The French far-right Sensido party emerged as one of the biggest winners in Japan's upper house election, gaining support with warnings of a silent invasion of immigrants and pledges for tax cuts and welfare spending. The party won 14 seats, adding to a single lawmaker it secured in the 248-seat chamber 3 years ago. It has only 3 seats in the more powerful lower house. The phrase Japanese first was meant to express rebuilding Japanese people's livelihoods by resisting globalism. Sohei Kamiya, the party's 47-year-old leader, said that "I'm not saying that we should completely ban foreigners or that every foreigner should get out of Japan." Prime Minister Shigeru Shiba's Liberal Democratic Party and its coalition partner, Komeito, lost their majority in the upper house, leaving them further beholden to opposition support following a lower house defeat in October.
South Korea is studying various plans to improve relations with North Korea, a spokesperson for South Korea's Unification Ministry said. Koo Byung-sam, a spokesperson for the ministry that handles inter-Korea affairs, refused to comment on a particular issue. But Koo said he understood individual tours were not in violation of international sanctions. Tourism is one of the narrow range of cash sources for North Korea that are not targeted under United Nations sanctions over its nuclear and weapons program. South Korea President Lee Jae-myung has pledged to improve strained relations with Pyongyang that have reached their worst level in years. North Korea recently opened a beach resort in the city of Wonsan, a flagship project driven by leader Kim Jong-un to promote tourism. But the tourist area is temporarily not accepting foreign visitors, according to a July 16th note by DPR Korea Tour, a website operated by North Korea's National Tourism Administration.
Russia launched a new barrage of drones and missiles at Ukraine in an overnight attack, killing at least one person and causing multiple fires in the capital of Kyiv. Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said rescuers and medics were working on sites across 4 districts of the capital. A subway station in central Kyiv, commercial property, shops, houses, and a kindergarten were all damaged. In another tense and sleepless night for Kyiv residents, many rushed to take shelter in the underground stations. Explosions were heard across the city as air defense units engaged in repelling the attack. Oleg Synibuhov, the governor of the Kharkiv region, reported multiple explosions in Kharkiv, the country's second largest city.
Storms drenched southern parts of the Chinese mainland, triggering warnings of flash floods and landslides a day after Typhoon Wifa pounded Hong Kong. Heavy rain lashed the cities of Yangjiang, Zhanjiang, and Maoming in China's southern province, Guangdong, after the storm system made landfall. On Sunday, it brushed past Hong Kong, where it felled trees and scaffolding, grounded flights, and sent nearly 280 people into shelters. China's national forecaster said it had weakened to a tropical storm upon landfall and forecast it to skirt the coast of Guangdong and move southwesterly towards Vietnam. Heavy rain is forecast for mainland Chinese coastal regions such as Guangdong, Guangxi, Hainan, and Fujian until Tuesday morning, with warnings of flash floods, landslides, and wind hazards. Forecasters said that the system will move into the Gulf on Tonkin, over which it will gather intensity before hitting Vietnam's northern coast.
Dozens of rescuers were scrambling in Vietnam to trace 4 missing people after retrieving the bodies of dozens killed when a thunderstorm capsized the boat in the top tourist destination of Ha Long Bay. Despite a calm sea, rescuers from the police and border guards to divers and Navy personnel were battling limited visibility hours before the expected landfall in northern Vietnam of Typhoon Wipa, which is now approaching Hong Kong. The government said rescuers had managed to retrieve the sunken boat and revised down the death toll to 35 from an initial 38, while cutting an estimate of those aboard to 49 from 53. Though officials feared the toll could still rise, all the tourists aboard were Vietnamese, including several children.
China confirmed it will hold a top-level summit with the European Union in Beijing this week, marking 50 years of diplomatic ties as both sides seek to navigate trade disputes amid broader global trade uncertainties. Chinese Foreign Ministry said that the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Antonio Costa will visit China and meet Chinese President Xi Jinping. Chinese Premier Li Qiang will be co-chairing the 25th China-EU summit with the EU leaders the same day. The meeting comes as global trade frictions heat up, with Beijing seeking to secure closer economic and political ties with the bloc to hedge against uncertainties in its relations with the United States. EU-China relations deteriorated sharply in 2021 when Brussels sanctioned Chinese officials over alleged human rights abuses in the Xinjiang region, a move that saw swift retaliatory sanctions from Beijing, halting much of bilateral exchanges.
Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. meets US President Donald Trump this week, hoping Manila's status as key Asian ally will secure a more favorable trade deal before an August 1st deadline. Marcos will be the first Southeast Asian leader to meet Trump in his second term. Trump has already struck trade deals with two of Manila's regional partners, Vietnam and Indonesia, driving tough bargains in the trade talks, even with close allies that Washington needs to keep on side in its strategic rivalry with China. The United States had a deficit of nearly $5 billion with the Philippines last year on bilateral goods trade of $23.5 billion. Trump this month raised the threatened reciprocal tariffs on imports from the Philippines to 20% from 17% threatened in April.
The powerful Ecuadorian gang leader, Adolfo Macias Villamar, has been extradited to the United States to face charges of drugs and arms trafficking. Known as Fito, he was captured in June, almost a year after he escaped from a high-security prison where he was serving a 34-year sentence for a series of crimes. Macias was leader of Los Choneros. Macias was a leader of Los Choneros gang, which is linked to powerful criminal organizations from Mexico and the Balkans. He is also suspected of having ordered the assassination of presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio in 2023.
Those were the headlines for today.
Don't go anywhere. After a quick break, we'll be right back to delve into each story with comprehensive coverage. Stay tuned.
These were the headlines for the hour. Now let's go into details.
Torrential rains that lashed South Korea have killed at least 18 people and left 9 others missing, authorities said, as the government lifted advisories for heavy rain and the meteorological agency warned of a return of heat waves to southern parts of the country. The toll came as South Korea's military also announced dispatching thousands of troops to rain-ravaged areas to assist in recovery efforts. The downpours began on July 16th and brought some of the heaviest hourly rainfall on record to some of South Korea's central and southern provinces. The 5-day deluge collapsed homes, triggered landslides, and unleashed flash floods that swept away cars and campers. According to the Ministry of the Interior and Safety, at least 10 people were killed in the southern county of Sancheong, and 4 others remain missing there. Another person was killed when their house collapsed in the town of Gapyeong, northeast of the capital, Seoul, while a man who had been camping near a stream there was found dead after being swept away by rapid currents. The rain also forced some 14,166 people to evacuate their homes in 15 cities and provinces and caused extensive property damage.
In the heart of one of Latin America's largest and most stigmatized neighborhoods, cyclists are challenging stereotypes on 2 wheels. In Petare, a sprawling district in Venezuela long associated with gang violence, a downhill mountain bike race is drawing crowds and hope. Organizers say the goal is to show beauty, resilience, and vibrant spirit to the community. Speeding through steep staircases and tangled alleys, mountain bikers are racing not just for the finish line, but for a new image of Petare. Home to more than 600 people, Petare is Venezuela's largest neighborhood, often labeled as one of the most dangerous. But today, it's alive with energy and pride as locals cheer on racers in the bold urban competition. For residents and racers alike, this event is more than a race. It's a ride towards reclaiming identity and reshaping how the world sees Petare.
Dozens of Kate Bush fans in Berlin and hundreds more around the world donned flowing red dresses and twirled in unison this weekend in a tribute to the British singer's iconic hit, Wuthering Heights. The joyful gathering is part of a global tradition known as the most Wuthering Heights Day ever, where fans come together to celebrate the music and spirit of the 1970s cult classic. This isn't just a local event, it's part of a global tradition called the most Wuthering Heights Day ever, first held in 2013 and now recreated in cities across the world. From Sydney to San Francisco, fans of all ages and backgrounds put on red dresses and recreate Bush's haunting choreography, not just to honour her music, but to connect through joy, movement, and a shared love for an eccentric and enduring icon.
France welcomed the release of Lucas Hunter, a Franco-American national who has been detained in Venezuela since January. Foreign Ministry said France applauds the efforts of the US State Department to secure his release. Hunter, 37, was among 10 Americans detained in Venezuela, whose release was announced by US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The release was part of a coordinated prison exchange, with El Salvador's government sending detained Venezuelans home in exchange for the return to the US of 10 Americans held in Venezuela. And that concludes our bulletin for now. Until next hour, stay informed and engaged.
Thank you for watching Ocean News.
October 7, 2023, the most devastating assault on Israeli territory in 5 decades. Over 1,200 Israelis killed, more than 240 hostages taken, and the myth of Israeli invincibility shattered. The most advanced surveillance state on earth was caught asleep. And yet, 18 months later, not a single senior officer has resigned, no minister fired, no inquiry completed, no accountability. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, still in office, still clinging to power, still blaming everyone but himself. But that's not new, because if there's one thing Bibi Netanyahu has mastered, it's turning war into a shield, it's turning tragedy into political asset, and using fear, Palestinian, Lebanese and Iranian, to protect himself from justice. Today, we examine how Netanyahu survived October 7th. how he sabotaged hostage talks, dodged persecution, and expanded conflict, not to defend Israel, but to defend his seat. This is Global Script, and I'm Shafat Ali. Let's start with some facts. At 6:30 a.m., Hamas launched coordinated multi-pronged attacks with paragliders, drones, motorcycles and bulldozers, and it took Israel 8 hours to respond in full force. Over 1,200 Israelis were killed in towns of Be'eri, Kfar Aza and Nova Music Festival. More than 240 civilians and soldiers were taken into Gaza. But was this really a surprise? According to Haaretz, Israeli military intelligence received warnings months before the attack, indicating Hamas was conducting mock rehearsals for Gaza border breach. Yediot Ahronoth reported that whistleblower from Unit 8200 Israeli Elite Signals Unit said that we sent up multiple alerts about the unusual Hamas training patterns, but the higher-ups ignored it. So they weren't caught off guard. They just were ignoring the signals. Why? Because Netanyahu's government was distracted by something else entirely. For almost a year before the attack, Netanyahu's far-right coalition was obsessed with one thing: dismantling the independence of Israeli judiciary. In January 2023, Netanyahu and Justice Minister Yariv Levin introduced a judicial overhaul plan that would let Knesset override Supreme Court rulings, let the ruling coalition appoint judges, and strip the judiciary of its ability to review laws on constitutional grounds. This wasn't just legal tinkering. Former Mossad chiefs, Shin Bet directors, and IDF generals all warned this was a threat to Israeli democracy. Tens of thousands of Israelis took to the streets for 36 consecutive weeks. Reservists refused to serve. Pilots, cyber experts, even Air Force commanders warned the government, if this law passes, we will no longer show up. And they didn't. The IDF readiness was compromised just months before the worst attack in Israeli history. Netanyahu was warned again and again, but he pushed forward anyway. Why? Because this wasn't about policy. This was about power. And if the courts lost power, Netanyahu would finally escape the corruption trials looming over him since 2020. So he gambled with country's democracy, and Hamas saw the opening. After October 7th, the nation was in mourning, shocked, furious and grieving. But what did Bibi Netanyahu do? Did he apologize, resign, accept responsibility? Absolutely not. Instead, he started blaming others. On October 29th, 2023, just 3 weeks after the attack, Netanyahu posted a tweet and then quickly deleted it. But Times of Israel says that at no point the Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu warned about Hamas's war intentions. The assessment of the entire security echelon was that Hamas was deterred. In other words, don't look at me, blame the army. That tweet caused a political earthquake, and within its own war cabinet, there was an outrage. Former Chief of Staff Gadi Eisenkot told Haaretz that the government had months of warnings but ignored them. Ultimately, the top responsibility lies with the political leadership. The Israeli public agreed. At Channel 13 news poll in December 2023, they found that 80% of Israelis believed Netanyahu should resign after the war. And yet, he stayed. Why? Because as long as there's war, there's no election, there's no inquiry, there's no consequences. Israel's initial invasion of Gaza in late October was meant to dismantle Hamas and rescue the hostages. But months later, the ground campaign dragged on, and the civilian toll kept rising. The UN report in June 2025 suggests that more than 55,000 Palestinians have been killed. 70% of them have been women and children. The whole neighborhoods in Rafah, Khan Yunis and Gaza City have been flattened. So what's the plan? Even Netanyahu's own generals are unsure. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant admitted in March 2024 that we have dismantled Hamas's military capacity, but there's no post-war plan. There is an elephant in the room. So why no plan? Because for Netanyahu, war has always been the plan. The longer it lasted, the longer he could stay in power. Because there would be no elections, there would be no accountability, and there would be no courtroom. And then came Lebanon. In June 2024, Israel ramped up at the cross-border strikes on Hezbollah's positions. Northern Israeli towns were evacuated, thousands displaced. Soon drones and rockets were flying between Haifa and Beirut. Netanyahu declared that we will restore full security to the north. But Israeli generals were skeptical. One IDF North commander officer told The Marker that this has more to do with Netanyahu's political calendar than our security needs. And then in July, Iran. Israel stuck an IRGC facility in Damascus, prompting Iranian retaliation on the Golan Heights. The New York Times reported the Israeli strike was not just coordinated with US, and the officials in Washington were blindsided. So why provoke Iran, Hezbollah and Hamas all at once? Because it delays elections, it delays investigation, and it keeps Netanyahu in charge. So what about the hostages? By April 2024, over 100 hostages were still being held in Gaza. Their families camped outside Knesset. They marched from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. They pleaded for a deal. So what about the hostages? By April 2024, and then falling apart. Why? Channel 12 News revealed that senior Mossad officials believe that Netanyahu's office has been deliberately raising new demands every time a breakthrough was near. The US noticed it too. Axios quoted President Biden saying, Netanyahu doesn't want this to end. Even CIA Director William Burns privately complained that each time we close in on a deal, the Israeli political echelon just adds a new condition. So ask yourself, why would Prime Minister of Israel sabotage negotiation? Because peace means elections,